All right, this is Dan Putnam. I want to welcome everybody to our O2 Drops product call. We're extremely excited about this call. We've been waiting for a little while here, and I think you're going to get some absolutely incredible information that will really kind of show you the vision of the company and why we chose this product and why we're so excited about it. So I show it is right at the top of the hour. I'm going to actually go ahead and mute out the background noise, put the call on presentation mode, and that way we'll give a nice clear line here, and I'll be right back on. So give me just 1 second. All right. Once again, this is Dan Putnam. I want to welcome everybody to our O2 Drops product call. We have an exciting guest speaker here that, I know is going to give you some absolutely amazing information. Before I really get into that, I want to talk just a second again on why we have this company and why we're so excited and really what our mission is to, bring this product to the world. And so with O2 Worldwide, we kind of want to do two things that I can't, really emphasize how important they both are. First, our number one goal is to provide a spare time opportunity that over time can give people the ability to earn a full-time income that doesn't depend on their time, doesn't depend on their effort. And with that, if we can help you in your spare time, maybe 5, 10, 15 hours per week, create that full-time income, we're not saying then come and work 40, 50, 60 hours a week in your O2 Worldwide business. We want you to find whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever it is that you've dreamt about from the time you were a kid. Spend more time with your spouse, spend more time with your kids, get to know your kids, give them the support that they need to excel in life, to spend more time with your communities and your churches and your faith, and whatever it is that you're excited about. That's really what we want to do. One of the things that I really live by, instead of complaining and blaming every other person, I heard a quote many, many years ago from, I believe it was from Gandhi, that said, if you want to see change, you need to become the change that you want to see. And we want to go out there and empower as many people as possible and really give them the ability to live life, to help others, to, learn and to grow. And so that's really what we're passionate about. At the same time, we feel every great company should give back. So we're also passionate about, the charity that we're working with. Meals of Hope is something that, I possibly could not even imagine the situation that every single day people are in. But Meals of Hope is an American charity that donates meals to the needy and specifically children right here in America. A lot of times we're an American company. We're a worldwide business, so we feel like we'll find great charities all over the world, but we're starting right here in America, where we think is overlooked far too often. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kids going without, and I look at this kind of on both ends. A parent, two amazing children. I can't even imagine how devastating that would be to not be able to provide the simple basics of nutrition and meals for them. So to have a company be that reaching hand and know that your children aren't going to go without anything. The more meals we can provide, the better. And so what we do with every single bottle purchased of our amazing O2 Drops product is we donate a meal. So if somebody purchases one bottle, that's one meal, 3, that's 3, 6, that's 6. So it's not every order, it's every bottle sold, we're donating a meal. And that's just our way of giving back. And at the end of the day, we're looking for like-minded people to, volunteer army, to join forces with us, to lock arms with us, and go out there and make a difference and become that change that you want to see. And it would not be possible without this product. The product is absolutely the most important aspect of our business. Without a great product, nothing else that we do really matters, because at the end of the day, that's what makes the difference. That's the easiest thing to duplicate, and that's the easiest way to create retention. And in order to have a successful business, those are the two things. That's what you have to have. You have to be able to duplicate and you have to be able to retain. And, having a product that truly works is the easiest way to do both. And so without any further ado, I want to introduce our speaker here. And again, I could not be more excited for tonight's call. We have Dr. Krauss on the call. He's been studying in the field of oxygen supplementation for over 30 years. So think about that for a second. What this world really needs to make a difference is it needs passionate people. So somebody going out there and studying in one field for 30 years, there's not a lot of people that, commit that type of time to anything. And so we feel, in my opinion, we have the world's foremost expert in this area of oxygen supplementation. So he's worked both as a consultant, a researcher, and really finding that information. He went more in depth in looking at different things like chlorine dioxide and the use of sodium chloride as a disinfectant and also as an oxygen supplement. This research that he found and all this information that he found actually led to him writing a book. And the book is Oxygen, spelled O2XYGEN, Nature's Most Important Dietary Supplement. If you don't have that book, I highly recommend getting your hands on it and finding out some of this amazing research that Dr. Krauss has done. And since then, the last 2 decades, he's continued to conduct independent research in the field of oxygen supplementation and really focusing on safety. As we've said on our calls, the thing that I am so excited about this product is it's something that's safe. You know, there's a lot of great markets out there in health and nutrition and weight loss and stuff like that, but so many of the products over time are proven to be not safe. That's why you see things like ephedra and then, geranium extract and now amcitrate and all of these, harsh stimulants that are actually causing damage being taken out. And so if we're really going to make a difference and we're going to be that legacy company that everybody can depend on for decades and decades to come, we have to have a product that's safe. And so with all of the research that he's been putting into find a safe product that people can take and be able to use topical as a antimicrobial and just its ability to provide additional energy, stamina, endurance while promoting quicker recovery for products. I think as you hear the information that Dr. Krauss is going to cover, you're going to see why we feel that we possibly could have the best product for wound healing, for burns, for any types of things like that, can be the best anti-aging, energy and focus, and maybe the best actual performance product ever created, and it's all in one product. That's what's so amazing. You see companies that on their website, they'll have an anti-aging list of products that might be, 5 or 6 or 7 products, and then they'll have a weight loss, and then they'll have a performance, and then they'll have an energy and focus, and then they'll have, some other products for, cleaning and other products for wound healing and for viruses and for rashes and all of these things. And we can basically have all of those product lines in this one amazing product that Dr. Krauss has put together, really making everything simple. And in addition to that, he has a bachelor's degree in English, minors in speech, biology, and mathematics, and he possesses a lifetime California secondary teaching credential, an MBA and PhD in international business. So again, this is somebody who's really dedicated his life to studying and more specifically studying oxygen supplementation and how it can benefit our body. So with no more information, we're going to just kind of do a quick Q&A here. And so, Dr. Krauss, I first want to thank you for this amazing product and really thank you for allowing us to be a marketing arm and really take this product to the world. So thanks for joining us. And, thanks for all of the hard work and the research that you've done and really the blessing it is to so many people and will be to so many future people that haven't even heard this message yet. So, again, thanks for everything that you've done.
Well, Dan, it's a pleasure to be with you, and my hope is over the next weeks and months, years and decades that we work together, that we will continue to help you change people's lives by not just financially, but of course the most important thing is to have a healthier life. Exactly,
and that's why one of our mottos is, health is the first wealth, and we believe that 100%. So we have a couple questions that have come from some of our distributors and some of their prospects that are, maybe hearing about this type of supplementation for the first time. And one of them that we've had, obviously the first thing that people do when they hear about a product is they want to take that product to their doctor and get his approval. And so we've actually had a little bit of feedback that some doctors say that too much oxygen can actually be dangerous. And so is there anyone with all of your research and all the information that you have, is there anyone in your opinion that shouldn't take an oxygen supplement, or is it possible to take too much of this supplement specifically?
Well, first of all, let me just state that in all the decades that I have been doing research and speaking to medical professionals and researchers, literally throughout the world, I have not had a single medical professional ever tell me that too much oxygen is dangerous for human health. On the contrary, there's not a doctor that I know that would stake his reputation by saying that really looking at the fact that a lack of oxygen at the cellular level is the root cause of all human disease. That's really the essence of what we're talking about. You mentioned Dr. Arthur Guyton's book on medical physiology that I believe it's on your website and you talk about that. It's really the truth that at the very core of all human health, it starts with oxygen. It's the spark of life. It's the spark of the entire energy cycle that your cells need in order to be able to do all of the functioning that they need to do. So again, doctors aren't going to say that too much oxygen, essentially, don't breathe too much oxygen. If that were the case, they would tell us not to breathe. No doctor in their right mind would ever say that. No researcher would ever say that. So the purpose is not to stop breathing, but to have the greatest oxygen supplement that you can and the greatest oxygen supplementation that you can from whatever you can get to be able to increase the oxygen level of the human body. So anyway, I just wanted to spell that to start with. Now, really looking at what oxygen does in the human body and why it's so important. Oxygen combines with the simplest sugar that we get from carbohydrates. That simple sugar is glucose. And glucose is really what you look at as the fuel in the human body, and you look at oxygen as the spark. It's like a spark plug. And when you look at inside the human cell, there's a little teeny factory in every single cell called a mitochondria. And that cell needs glucose and needs oxygen in order to create energy. And one of the things that happens is once the cell creates that energy, it's known as ATP or adenosine triphosphate, that energy production has waste product. Just like soot is when you burn, logs in a fire, there's a waste product for energy production. And that waste product happens to be what is called an oxygen-free radical. And everyone has heard about free radical damage. Everyone knows that free radicals are the major reason why we age, because they build up in the cell. They cause DNA damage. That DNA damage causes the cell to not function properly. The cell gets sick. It dies. And basically that's where aging starts and stops, is the buildup of free radicals. The good part is that our body is designed to neutralize free radicals. Now, it can't do it 100% or we live like Methuselah for 900 years. That's not the case. Unfortunately, we don't live in those times anymore. But we do have the ability to neutralize those free radicals by certain supplements. For example, CoQ10, vitamin A, vitamin C, beta-carotene, lycopene, for example, that we get from tomatoes. Those things help neutralize, and selenium, by the way, they neutralize the free radicals that are in our body. So if we're eating healthy, you don't have to worry about a lot of the concerns with free radicals and having to take tremendous amounts of vitamins and minerals. So anyway, I just wanted to mention the fact that free radicals are a natural part of energy production. You can't stop them from being created, and it's nothing to worry about unless you're not eating properly or you've already got some kind of an immune disorder or some kind of other physiological disorder. But without oxygen, you can't do any of that anyway. I also wanted to mention, Dan, that all the research confirms that when a human body lacks substantial amounts or adequate oxygen, free radical production actually increases in our bodies. So really the opposite is true. Less oxygen means greater free radical production because the cells are stressing out. Their body is stressing out because it doesn't have adequate oxygen to create the energy. Toxins build up in the human body, and that creates more damage to the cells and to the organs in our body. So,
Fantastic.
Again, you can't overfill the body. The human body can only have 100% oxygen saturation. So it's not like you can put 120% in or 150% in. And the human body was designed to be at its optimum level of 100% saturation in both the red blood cells and in the plasma. The plasma in our body, which is kind of the liquid freeway that all the nutrients and all the cells run through, there's about 2% dissolved oxygen in the plasma. The rest of the oxygen is carried by hemoglobin molecules in our red blood cells. So the whole goal is to keep that freeway saturated and keep those red blood cells completely saturated with oxygen. That's where human health comes from, and that's what's really important.
I appreciate that, and that kind of even answers this next question here. But one of the things that we hear is, this is so new to so many people. They've heard of vitamins and minerals, and they've heard of antioxidants, and they've heard a lot of these terms before. But most people really have never thought or even knew that it was possible to actually take an oxygen supplement. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that wonder, why do you even take an oxygen supplement when all you have to do to breathe or to get oxygen is simply breathe? So why do people need to supplement oxygen?
That's a great question, and it's one that we get all the time. If our bodies were fully saturated with oxygen, if we were, at 99 or 100% total saturation, and when you go to the doctor, the first thing that they normally do, and you're ill, is they check your oxygen saturation level. They use all types of meters, basically the pulse oximeter that they put on your finger, is to be able to determine how much oxygen saturation your body has. They know when the body's oxygen level is low, there is something that's wrong, and they want to deal with obviously the problem that is being created because you don't have enough oxygen in your body. I wish it was as simple as breathing more. And if that was the case, everyone would be around breathing more breaths if they possibly could to reoxygenate their body. It doesn't work that way. I wish it did. It doesn't. The human body is a remarkable organism and machine, if you want to look at it. It is perfection in its purest form, but it can't have enough oxygen. That is related, and of course you mentioned this on your website and in your literature. Unfortunately, there are a number of things that prevent us from being fully saturated. One of them being stress. We live in unfortunately a stressed environment. Stress causes tremendous amounts of oxygen to be consumed by the human body, not only in the organs but in the brain. That depletes more oxygen, and as the body becomes depleted of that oxygen, our cells become stripped of what they need to be able to create the energy they need to function properly, to create energy, to duplicate themselves, to use the nutrients, and even to think. Obviously the brain consumes 25% of the oxygen that we breathe, and if we don't have adequate amounts of oxygen, the brain tries to get it first. If it can't get enough, obviously the brain functioning, your memory, your ability to recall things, those things diminish. At the same time, since it's trying to get its major share of oxygen, the other organs don't get what they need, and that's again one of why Arthur Guyton was saying the root cause of all diseases is a depletion of oxygen in the human body. You can't get it from breathing. Stress, the foods that we eat, the highly processed foods, all of the chemicals that are, believe it or not, they're in our waters. You can't get it out of the water that we drink. There are 70,000 new chemicals that have been introduced to our environment that are in our foods and waters since when my grandparents were alive. There's so many things that affect our oxygen levels. Obesity, diabetes. These are all diseases, again, caused by lack of nutrition or poor nutrition that comes from the foods that we eat. And we can talk about that in a bit if you'd like, about how the soil is stripped of those nutrients. All of these things tax the human body. And so the goal, of course, is to try to get the human body back up to its normal oxygen levels so that it can fight off disease, so that it can perform all its functions properly. One of the best ways is using oxygen supplementation. The research is there. We've done the research, both at independent laboratories and at universities around the world. The O2 drops do help increase the body's oxygen level. You can test it by a pulse oximeter. There are ways to prove that it works, but the bottom line is it does improve the body's oxygen level so much more than thinking, I'll just take a few more breaths.
Right, and I couldn't agree with you more, and that's one of the great things that we do at the company is, a lot of times people rely too much on all this other information, and they rely on, well, what's the pulse oximeter saying, and what's this strip saying, and all of this stuff. So really the only way that you can see how this product works for you is to get it in your body and to actually give it a try, and that's what we try and do, and that's why we offer 100% money-back guarantee on the product. Is the best way to test it out is to use the product. But a lot of the stuff that you're saying, really does make a lot of sense. I found myself the times that I'm, under more stress and stuff like that, where I just feel like, man, I just something's wrong with my brain today. I just can't think clearly and stuff. And a lot of that could be just the simple problem of lack of focus and some of these things in stressful situations is just not having enough oxygen. So much of it's being used up because of the stress that you're under and all of these things. So, that really does a lot in kind of explaining why every single person on the planet should be using this product every single day, to help give the body what it really needs to function. Just the importance of that in everyday life, from everything that you're doing, every decision you're making, every, thing that you're doing and to perform, the best that you can at your job and all of those things, just from what you're saying, people could really benefit from something as simple as this amazing O2 Drops product. And one of the things that I've seen just from the research that you've done and the information that you've put out, and most of it we have on our website, the thing, as I mentioned before, that is so exciting about this is it really does so much of everything. And when you think about it, it's pretty logical. If you look at the most important nutrient for the body, it's got to be oxygen, because there's most everything else you can live with for much more than live without, I guess, for much more than just a matter of minutes, and you cannot do that with oxygen. So it does make sense that if you really give the body the most vital nutrient for everything that it's doing and trying to do, that it can take care of a lot of things. But what we're seeing, and as I mentioned, a lot of this you've spent some time researching, but we feel that, oxygen can be maybe one of the best anti-aging products ever out there. It can also be a great, preventative product for disease and for other issues that everybody's dealing with on a daily basis. And then, as I mentioned, you've done a lot of studying just for, performance for athletes and energy and quick recovery time. So could you just briefly explain how oxygen works for those things, for things like anti-aging and for disease prevention, and then for not just athletes, for everybody, just optimal performance?
I'll try to cover it all, and if I miss something, don't hesitate to ask. One of the things that I like to stress to everybody is that whether they realize it or not, they're an athlete. Most people say, well, I'm not out running marathons. I'm not out, playing professional sports or whatever it may be. The very fact that we get up in the morning and that we go through our daily routines, whether we realize it or not, we're athletes. That is an athletic performance. We're putting our body through tremendous amounts of stress, just like an athlete does. Only, it may be just thinking. It may be, working on computers. It may be, out doing manual labor or whatever it may be. We're athletes, and to be able to create energy, you must have oxygen. To be able to cleanse the body, to be able to pull out all of the accumulated toxins from over medications, from all the chemicals that are in our foods, that takes oxygen. And so that's one of the most important things for people to realize. You are an athlete. Second of all, the most important thing to also remember, which we just stated earlier, is that the biggest killer of human beings in the world, and especially in America because of the way our society runs, because we're so high-paced, is stress. Stress causes an accumulation of toxins to build up in our organs and in our cells. You have to get those toxins out. If they remain in the cells for prolonged periods of time, they literally destabilize the cell, they destroy the DNA, they destroy the cells, and that is where the source of really death comes from. It starts at the cellular level. It doesn't start at the organ level. It starts with individual cells. So, the key right now is to make those cells as healthy as possible, and they've got to have oxygen on every nanosecond. As you mentioned, you can go without food for 40 days. You can go without water for about a week. But how long can you go without oxygen? Literally for minutes. The brain needs it. If you don't have it, you die. So, as far as medications are concerned, I just want to make a mention of that. Listen, I happen to believe that pharmacology and medications have made a huge difference in our ability to sustain life, but it's so free today. The over-the-counter ability to be able to buy medications and to take them for the simplest ache and pain. It causes tremendous amounts of chemicals. These are man-made chemicals to build up within the body. And again, that causes tremendous stress within the body. The body has to get out the byproducts as it tries to metabolize those chemicals. And if you can't get them out with the adequate amount of oxygen, they build up and they cause literally tremendous amount of cellular stress and cellular death. So the key, as you mentioned, is oxygen at the base level. Keep the body oxygenated. You had asked how it works for anti-aging. Again, the best way to literally diminish many of the effects of aging is to prevent the buildup of those toxins, which really is the basis behind the philosophy of O2 drops. Give the body more oxygen, the body can run and regulate itself more efficiently, more effectively. That allows us to pull out a lot of those toxins that are in the body. The baseline of our immune system, the immune system is like an army, and it's called in to fight battles whenever the body is full of invading microbes. Those are usually pathogenic microorganisms. They're anaerobic. They can't live in an oxygen-rich environment. If you can keep the body highly oxygenated, the body has the ability to attack those microorganisms more effectively. Every white blood cell, and most people understand you've got white blood cells and red blood cells and platelets. You've got all kinds of things that are in the bloodstream. When the body sees an invading pathogen, a virus, bacteria, yeast, mold, whatever it may be, the body sends a signal out, and the warriors in our body, the white blood cells or T cells, go out and they try to find those invaders, and they engulf them. They're like little amoebas. If you remember in science, the amoeba is a kind of a free form, and it engulfs whatever it needs to eat and then digests it. The white blood cells are very similar in how they work. They use oxygen to kill those pathogens. They engulf them, and they use oxygen that they get from water, and they get the oxygen out of the water, which is one of the atoms in water. It's hydrogen and oxygen. And they create hydrogen peroxide, and they squirt that. It literally comes out of them, and it causes the microorganisms to literally just die, simply because you're changing the cellular metabolism around each one of those cells, and it causes them to literally burst open. So oxygen is critical for a healthy immune system. So you can see how all these things tie to a healthy body by having more oxygen available.
Yeah, without question. And the more I see and the more I hear, and especially hearing you talk about this subject, I mean, really, if this isn't starting to make sense to people, then they definitely need the product more than anybody, because, everything that you're saying makes perfect sense to people. And so, we're definitely excited about this. And hearing just what you're saying, I mean, the testimonials that we have coming in are just amazing. And who would have thought that it's really just as easy as giving your body the oxygen that it needs to, perform at more optimal levels. But a lot of this that we're talking about for the anti-aging, for the performance, for, the prevention possibly of disease and things like that, we're talking about taking the product sublingually, taking the drops straight under your tongue, holding them in your mouth for a minute or two so that you can get maximum absorption straight into your bloodstream where this, the oxygen is truly needed. But, something else that we're hearing from reps and seeing more and more is the topical uses. And again, that's what I love about this product. I mean, so many uses that people can use with just one simple product. And so could you just explain, some of the topical uses, and part of your research was, just how this oxygen supplement can be used as an antimicrobial and some of those things. And we're hearing a lot of information on, healing, cuts and scrapes quicker, so the body's, actually healing faster, burns, different things like that. So what are the topical uses of this product, and is there anything that somebody should, worry about, getting the product on the skin or things like that?
Well, let's take that question first, if we could. First of all, based on extensive independent laboratory research, This product, the O2 drops, is absolutely, without question, completely safe to use topically. You can spray it on anything. You can put it on the skin. You can put it, on surfaces, for example. Whether it's the changing table for a baby's, for baby diapers. You can spray it on the countertops. You can spray it on food. There's not a surface that you cannot think of that you could not spray this on and have it be effective in reducing microbes. As I mentioned, there are two basic types of microorganisms. These are unicellular organisms. One is aerobic, one is anaerobic. Aerobic means, air tolerant. Anaerobic means non-air tolerant. All the pathogenic, all the disease-causing microorganisms are anaerobic, which means they cannot live in an oxygen-rich environment. It all has to go down to the cellular level. It's based on electrons, and it has to do with how they receive their energy, and oxygen, because of its nature, it is an atom that absolutely, if you were to look at it, under an electron microscope and take a look at orbiting electrons, it's missing an electron. It desperately needs an electron to become stable. And it will get an electron anywhere that it can. That's just the nature of oxygen. One of the places it gets those electrons is when it comes into contact with microorganisms. They give up their electrons simply because of the way they're designed on a cellular level. And so when it pulls that electron, it's like them sticking their fingers into an electric socket. It electrocutes them. It causes them to destabilize. Their cellular membrane, that outer metabolic membrane, breaks down, and all of their innards spill out and they die. How often? 100% of the time. That is not the same and is not the true with a lot of the pharmaceutical chemicals that are out there that we can take to try to minimize, infection and disease. Unfortunately, microorganisms mutate. They mutate extremely fast, which is why we have to constantly develop new drugs and new pharmaceuticals to be able to deal with these mutating microorganisms. Oxygen is not dependent on mutation. It doesn't matter, how those microorganisms look. They can change their DNA every single second, and that won't make any difference to oxygen. It will kill those microorganisms every single time. That's the good news. So, I want to at least have people understand that's why it's so effective from a topical standpoint. Second of all, in order for wounds to heal, they must have an adequate supply of oxygen. One of the fastest ways is for those tissues that are hurt or damaged, whether it's a scrape or a burn, whatever it may be, is give it oxygen. Covering that wound up sometimes and keeping it away from oxygen often causes it to scab and not heal properly, or it may take longer to heal. But if it's subjected to oxygen, the tissues can get the oxygen that they may not normally be able to get from the little capillaries that would normally be servicing those cells on the skin level or the dermis level. And so you're basically providing that oxygen to help them heal faster. This is not anything that's unusual. This is not secret information. That's just the nature and the power of oxygen and its healing properties to the human body. One of the things that also people should understand is that the skin that we have, our epidermis, that's the top layers of the skin, it's the largest organ that we have on our body and in our body. It's a tremendous amount of square footage or square inches if you want to look at it, and every single one of those square inches contains cells. It's kind of amazing, Dan, when you think about it. Just 1 square inch of skin, there's 650 sweat glands, there's 20 blood vessels, 60,000 melanocytes, and more than 1,000 nerve endings. Now, why is that significant? Because every single one of those elements requires oxygen in order to maintain skin texture, skin color, skin elasticity, to be able to develop elastin and collagen, to make the skin look healthy and vibrant and young and have the right color. You can imagine, oh my gosh, that is a tremendous amount of energy and oxygen that the skin needs. Unfortunately, as we age, the skin because of just the aging process, it gets less and less oxygen from the capillaries that are supposed to be servicing the skin. Research shows, Dan, that as we age, our skin loses its oxygen delivery capacity significantly. By age 30, we've lost about 30% of our skin's ability to be able to get the oxygen that it needs. About 60% by age 40. And it can be as high as 70% by the time we reach like 80. So that's why as we get older, the skin can look older because it's not getting the oxygen that it needs. So why is that important? Well, every cell in the body, including the cells on the skin, in order for them, again, to function properly, to cleanse themselves of toxins, to be able to replicate themselves, all of those cells need oxygen to create the energy to do those things. And so that's why it's so important to use this topically. It's safe to use topically, and it's a great topical ingredient to spray on the skin, to use on the skin, for example, again, for acne, whatever it may be, to be able to give the skin the energy that it needs to be able to cleanse and replicate, heal itself, and to look young. So hopefully that makes sense.
It does 100% sense, and that's why I think, so many people are interested, because every single thing that you're saying makes sense. This isn't something that's super complicated, and so it's just absolutely incredible, to be able to come out with something like this. And I think what really separates your product and your creation here with the 30-plus years of intense studying on this is that it's a safe product, because a lot of the other oxygen supplements out there that are trying, in theory, to do the same thing that your product is doing, they're actually extremely toxic products and cannot be used on the skin and, can't be used to oxygenate the eyes if your eyes are dry or just feel tired or, different things like that, or can't be, there's very little uses for those products, and those products are extremely dependent on other processes of the body to actually try and provide or spike the oxygen levels at all. And a lot of it, the more research I'm seeing and some of the research that you guys have already done, the extensive research, a lot of it's just poor science and good marketing. And, a lot of times when I see this, business and stuff, there's a big difference between, actual health supplements and health companies and marketing companies selling, health-related products. A good marketing campaign, can make some things sound awfully good, but that's probably the number one reason I got so excited about this product is we could take something that is so beneficial to everybody from, a brand new newborn. I mean, just think of it that way. You have I have two kids of my own, and I can still remember, and probably most of us can remember the day that our kids were born. And, I remember, changing diapers, and I remember, different infections and rashes and all of these types of things. And just think of one product that, you have diaper rash. We have a perfect product for that. You have, different types of infections and all of that we have the perfect product for a brand new infant. And then as they become toddlers and, put their hand on the stove and burn their hand, we have a perfect product for that, and cuts and scrapes and things that are just part of life that we go through on pretty much a daily basis. And then they get into school and need to be able to, have energy and focus and behave in class. And so we have an absolutely amazing product for that. And as they get a little bit older and maybe more into sports or more into other things, we have an incredible product for that, and then it just continues on for high school age and college. And now all of a sudden you're in the job force and you need to perform, and your family's income depends on your performance at your job, and we have the perfect product for that and anti-aging. And so it really is amazing, and it's probably why you spent so much time studying oxygen, because it's the more you find out about it, you're just like, wow, I think we're really onto something. So you look further and further and you say, man, this is absolutely incredible. Every single person on the planet needs this information, because, we're making things far more difficult than they need to be. with all of the things that we're trying to do. So that's why we're so excited about this product and our ability to take it to the world and get people some supplementation that they really didn't even think of, and hopefully the information you've given them on oxygen really opens up their eyes and lets them think and say, well, geez, I definitely need that product for everybody that I know, love, and care about, and that's what we're all about. But a product that we have with O2 drops is not only oxygen. We also have some very important minerals. So, Dr. Krauss, I really want to cover this second part really quick because we do get some questions, and minerals is kind of an interesting subject because of the most of the supplementation of minerals, you really need to pay attention to what you're taking. Minerals are rocks, very difficult in a rock form, obviously, if you can imagine, for the body to assimilate and get any use at all. So we're pretty dependent on getting the minerals that the body needs, and minerals are right up there with oxygen in the importance and all the functions that they're involved in, and it's also been said that 100% of diseases can be traced back to mineral deficiency. So you have minerals and oxygen kind of going hand in hand in what the body truly needs. But where your body's pretty much dependent on getting the minerals from the food that you're eating, and the reason that is because other types of minerals are so difficult for the body to assimilate and can actually cause problems, because a lot of times when the body isn't able to assimilate something, it's not really sure what to do with it. So sometimes it ends up storing it, things like storing it in your kidney, storing it in your liver, and even some of these things being stored in your fat, and your body trying to keep all of these toxins or these unknown substances away from the vital organs. It makes everything more difficult, including weight loss is more difficult because your body is holding on to all the fat that it possibly can to protect the vital organs from some of these things. So we do hear quite often, what type of minerals are in your product, because people are starting to become more aware and actually becoming a little bit afraid of mineral supplementation, because they're hearing from different people or different doctors and stuff about mineral supplementation, and you need to be really careful from that. And some people still believe that you don't need to really supplement for minerals. It can all be done in a healthy diet. So if you could really do two things here with this question. One, maybe explain why people do need to supplement with minerals, and then more specifically, what makes the LTSM minerals that are in the O2 drops different than other minerals that are out there?
Absolutely, Dan. I think to start with, one of the most important things that your distributors and customers could do. There's a wonderful book that's out there. It's called Empty Harvest. It's written by Bernard Jensen, Dr. Bernard Jensen. He's passed away. I had the good fortune to meet him and speak with him. Absolutely phenomenal man. But this book that he wrote has to do with the lack of nutrition that is actually in the food that we consume. Unfortunately, the way agriculture goes today, and big agriculture, there's no way to replenish the soil with the minerals that are being stripped from it. There are things that we can do to cause the plants to grow bigger and to grow faster and to look good from a genetic standpoint, and with certain chemicals, man-made chemicals that we can put into the soil. But we can't replace the minerals that were in the soil that should be in our plants. We need those minerals and each of the minerals for a very specific purpose. And without getting too complicated and getting into the extents of quantum physics that we need to, if we could really see each mineral as an atom that has a different number of electrons and a different number of protons and neutrons in it, that is really what the body sees when it takes in nutrients. It looks at, on the atomic level, how many electrons are there, how many neutrons, how many protons, and what do I need as a cell from that particular atom to be able to perform a specific function. Each mineral that we take provides specific energy to the cell from an electron standpoint to be able to perform what that cell needs to do, whether it's to think, to transmit a memory, to be able to cleanse, to be able to urinate, to be able to move a muscle. It all takes energy. And again, that comes from the individual minerals and the nutritionals that we take in. Now, sadly, because the food doesn't contain the minerals that we need, we think, let's take a mineral supplement. Most of those mineral supplements are man-made minerals. They don't contain the correct electron spin. They really are not in the correct quantum state for our bodies to be able to get the energy that they need. So basically, they're wasted. In fact, much research is out there that our sewage system is the healthiest sewage system in the world. Probably 70 to 90% of the nutrients that are taken in through dietary supplements go out in the toilet. So there's very poor absorption of elemental and man-made minerals. It's just the way it is. Our human body can't assimilate them properly. We looked to food-based minerals. How can we find a food-based mineral, individual mineral, that can provide the correct quantum state, we call it the third state mineral, that has the correct electron spin, that our cells can then identify as food nutrition, to say, now this is a mineral with the right electrons and the right electron spin for us to use to do the energy that we need to do. So that's the remarkable thing about the third state, or LTSM, which means lyophilic third state mineral. Lyophilic just means water-loving because the process that we use is a cold water extraction process that allows us to pull out those individual minerals. We have chosen three basic minerals that we feel are the key energy and skin health and healing minerals for this unique product that we make for you. There's no one else that has this formula. No one else will ever have this formula. This is a unique formula that we blend specifically for your company, and that's in the O2 drops. And that's got chromium and zinc and magnesium. These are, and you don't need as much of a lyophilic third state mineral to get the energy that you need that you would from a non-third state mineral. So in our case, less is more. So that's really the difference and why it's so important, not only to get good food-based minerals, but why this particular supplement is also so remarkable.
One question that we get sometimes, Dr. Krauss, is why chromium, zinc, and magnesium? Could you just briefly explain why those are three of the important minerals and what they can actually do with the body? You kind of mentioned it briefly, but if you could just again emphasize that these are some of the most important minerals for healing and for some of the other things that this product is used for.
Great. Well, we could go into literally hours and hours worth of discussion on the importance of these three minerals and how many functions within the human body they actually coordinate with and help perform. But the bottom line is that magnesium and chromium are the critical minerals for energy production, for your muscles to be able to perform properly, to contract, to be able to recover from those contractions, to be able to move. They are really the key energy minerals. So that's why they are there and in this formula. Zinc also is critical for some energy production, but it is one of the essential minerals for skin health. And so that's, again, why we have it in there, because we know that the O2 drops can be used on the skin, will be used on the skin, and that's why we want to help promote all the skin functions in healing and sustaining itself and skin growth, the color, the texture, the elasticity, and all those things that are necessary with the importance of having zinc in the formulation. So really, in a nutshell, that's really why those three key minerals are in the formulation.
And I appreciate that. And Dr. Krauss, again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out of your busy schedule to, really explain to people, why this product is so important and why they should be using it. And again, this comes from 30 years of dedication and love of just finding out the information, and in my feeling, just to help more people. And and really kind of stop the insanity out there. And let's get back to the basics. That's everything that we're looking for as in a company, is just something that makes sense to people, something that's truly going to impact people's lives and make a difference and work so well that they're going to want to refer this product to others and help others and bless other people. So I, again, can't thank you enough for many things, for, continuing to study and do all of the research that's necessary to actually create a, safe product that everybody can use. Because, unfortunately, a lot of times I believe that, people in the field of science and in the field of nutrition, maybe they stop a little bit too early. Maybe they say, well, geez, this works pretty good. It's not that safe, but, if they use it in this exact way and do this and do that, it's going to help more than it hurts. But, instead of just stopping at the very first studies that you were doing with chlorine dioxide and sodium chloride and stuff like that, continuing on to, say, well, what can we actually do to create not only the best product out there to help provide the body the oxygen that it needs to, and instead of just surviving, actually thrive a little bit and get out there and provide people with the optimal health that they're after, and then take it a step further. What can we do to have a product that's truly safe? Because every part of the body, as you mentioned, every square inch of your body is just reaching and trying to get all the oxygen that it can. And unfortunately, due to stress and due to aging and due to all of these other factors, a lot of times it's not able to get the correct amounts for optimal health. And this product can truly be a godsend and a lifesaver for many people, because as we've mentioned, and as I think a lot of people think, we do take our health for granted, and as long as we feel okay and can get through our day without too much pain, we don't think about it that often. But as soon as it starts to go wrong and you start to have problems, it right then becomes extremely important. And there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with things that we feel very confident that we can help with just sharing this product and not waiting until you have a problem. This is a product that every single person should take every single day. I mean, as a father and as a husband and stuff like that, I want to make sure that my kids are taking the product every day and understand the benefits of the product. And even if they don't understand it, that they just take it because we say to take it. And that's the type of thing that we think all of our distributors should be doing. Everybody that you know, love, and care about should at least have the option and should at least know that this product exists, and then let them make up their own mind if it makes sense to them and if it's something that they want to take. So, again, I really want to, thank you for your time. I really appreciate everything that you're doing, and the drive and dedication that you've put forth to help us all is again greatly appreciated. I 100% know that there's distributors on the line right now that if they were in the same room or had your address, you would be getting thank you cards already, because we're hearing absolutely incredible, life-changing testimonials, and that wouldn't be possible without everything that you've done. So I, again, want to thank you. And last thing, just, if there's any last message or anything that you'd like to tell the distributors about oxygen. I think you covered it all, but if there's any, last thing that you have to say, I'd like to hear, any last words or anything that you feel wasn't covered that we should know, or just to re-emphasize something that you covered so that, people don't miss out on anything.
Absolutely. I think if I could, Dan, and a wrap-up is to really pull everything together and have your distributors and customers understand how remarkable, if they haven't grasped this, and we go through our daily activities, we take our bodies for granted. We don't even think how remarkable this organism is that houses our soul, houses our spirit, and does all the things that we do. We just take it for granted. The human body, if you were to actually go out and do the counting, which obviously impossible to do, it has 37 trillion, not billion, but trillion cells. And those cells all originated from one single cell. So when you start to think about that, oh my gosh, how did that happen? That happens literally with those cells having to have the right kind of nutrition, but oxygen in order to duplicate themselves every single time until they got to that 37 trillion. And yet every day, 50 billion cells die. So that's a lot of cells, and they have to be replaced. That can't be done without an adequate supply of oxygen. We've got 20 trillion red blood cells in our body that goes through those blood cells go through, based on at least what we've been able to determine and science says, 100,000 miles of blood, of veins and arteries and capillaries in our body. They're traveling that. That's about, well, if you were to actually calculate it, that's about half the distance to the moon, or about 4 times around the Earth. That's how many, actually the number of miles that we have in just that our blood traverses. And the blood can do that about every 6 minutes. So that's pretty astounding when you think about that. And yet, every single one of those cells, those 20 trillion blood cells, they need oxygen. If they can't have oxygen and they can't deliver the oxygen to the cells, those cells in our body die. We've got, within every single one of our cells, when every one of those 37 trillion cells, there is a strand of remarkable peptides that we call DNA. Those DNA molecules, it's about 400 million in each of those cells, the nucleotides. Those contain 30 atoms. Now, you just start doing the math and you start seeing how remarkable it is. If you were to count all of those and you were to measure them, stretch them out, those DNA strands in all of the cells in our body, they would literally stretch about 15 billion miles long. That's about twice the diameter of our solar system, and that's in a single human body. Without oxygen, none of those DNA strands could possibly sustain itself, exist, and perform the functions that it needs. So you start thinking about how remarkable it is that to create every chemical bond, to create every new cell, to create every thought pattern that is in our brains, every memory, that all requires a constant supply of oxygen. And that's literally, it is the most important element, not only in our planet, but literally in the universe. Without oxygen, there is no life. I can't stress how remarkable the O2 drops are, how they can change many lives. And as you pointed out, Dan, people should just give it a try. They have nothing to lose. They have everything to gain to help change their life from this day going forward. So thank you for allowing us to bless your company, and thank you for being a blessing to our company. And we look forward to many, many years and meeting many of your distributors hopefully in the future.
I really appreciate it. And there you have it, folks. Dr. Krauss, thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions at all, simply get back to the person who invited you on this call. Find out how you can get this product. And again, just like Dr. Krauss said, this is something that every single person should, deserves, to at least give it a try. We take all the risk as the company. That's why we offer a 100% money-back guarantee to make sure that everybody's, satisfied and happy with this product. So again, thanks everybody, and I hope you have an absolutely incredible night.